Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Red Sea podcast. Apologies for being just a few minutes late. We had some last minute tech issues to take care of, but we got rid of them quite fast. We're back after a lot of stuff has happened in the entirety of Olympiacos. Only the basketball side has been a bit quiet, a bit on the quieter side, whether that's for the better or for the worse, we'll see. Quoting Michael Stefanu, basketball really came out the gate swinging this summer, so there isn't a lot to even be concerned about as things stand. But yeah, the Erastechny and especially the football have a lot of ongoing subjects. We saw two friendlies, of course, in football, two very different friendlies with very different players playing. And of course, in the Erasitechni, we saw our first three, technically, draws for next season's European competitions. So we'll get into all that. Before we do, and I promise we'll get into it very swiftly, do go down below, check out all the links, give extra attention to the first link, which is our chance to be nominated for Best International Podcast on the Football Content Awards. And while you're down there, if you like what you see, your support has already been insane. Do subscribe. We are climbing quite fast, faster than expected. This summer has been very fun and very good for the show this far, and we're only halfway through. And as always, the second half of the summer promises to be way more fun and way more chaotic at that. And yeah, honestly, I'm glad to have you along for the ride. Whether you've been here since yesterday or whether you joined as the first subscriber of this show. Now, enough with the shameless promo. Let's get into it. First things first. Yesterday, Olympiacos played Fortuna Sittard and had to throw out a very unique 11, having in mind, of course, that today would have been a much tougher test, no disrespect to the Dutch team against Ajax. And the 11 went as follows. Dimitris Tournaras was under the sticks. Ortega was at left back. Carmo and Isidoros Koutsidis were at the centre back position. Yorgos Schiosios was at the right back. Scipioni, Philis, and Zota Silva were the three of the midfield, and Zelson, Andre Luis, and Yorgos Masouras were the three in attack. This very unconventional, to say the least, 11 really did the job, as we looked more convincing than we ever have before in the friendlies, winning, of course, 3-1 with Zota Silva getting an unofficial debut hat trick. Wow. Just wow. We'll get into it. Of course, the game started kind of slowly. Around the 15th minute, Tournaras had to make a great reactionary save to keep another clean sheet. And then Olympiacos, after the 20th minute, really just took control. There was the chance by Andre Luis that barely went out. I think it hit the post. Andre Luis again had a chance after a few minutes that got saved. And after a corner on the 20th, Masouras gets the first header, Koutsidis gets the second, which registers himself an assist, and Jota Silva scores his first goal for Olympiacos as he ends up firing a close range rocket at the net, which was more or less unsavable. And 4 minutes later, of course, Scipioni, who sadly is injured and will more than likely miss the last two friendlies of Olympiacos, but thankfully nothing more, puts forward an unbelievable pass for Jota Silva again, who runs through and chips the keeper, sending the ball in the opposite corner of the net in a wonderful way. Honestly, of course, on the 56th minute, Fortuna made the 2-1, and immediately, I don't even know if a minute passed, Gelson Martins wins a penalty for Olympiacos. Andre Luis originally went to take it, but by the intervention of Yorgos Masouras, the ball was given to the debuting Jota Silva, so he could complete his hat trick. And honestly, kalispera. Honestly, I am impressed. I wrote it on the socials as well that I am hesitantly optimistic about Jota Silva. I did expect him to be good. I didn't expect him to be anything amazing, if that makes sense. I really thought that he wouldn't have that much of an instant impact, at least. And when his name kind of got tangled with the probable failure of the transfer of Petr Stanic, I think a lot of unnecessary negativity got thrown his way for seemingly no reason. I think mine and quite a few people's concerns were based on his last quote unquote failed season with Besiktas. But seemingly, this is a man on a mission. He already showed how much football he knows. He's a talented footballer. He's a multi-positional, talented footballer. Even though I think with the way Mendy plays, he really suits the 10 more than the winger. And we were having a conversation with some people that he should stay at the 10. I don't think he would do as well as a winger in this team, which sadly means that we need another winger, especially if Andre Luis gets sold. But as I wrote on the socials again, knowing what we saw last season, and of course, I don't want to make the comparison with Christopher Velde because Jota Silva is 100 times the player. But I think if last preseason taught us anything, is to be cautious about friendlies. We can't step on one end of the spectrum or the other. Okay. we need to kind of be in the middle and recognize both positives and negatives. I think that's the best way to approach the whole Jota Silva transfer. But personally, on a more fun note, if you want to say it like that, I am way more positive than I was when the signing got announced. That's where I'm standing, at the very least. I do want to give some props once again to Christos Philis. The kid really looks like he has earned the trust of the coaching staff and especially Medilibar. He looks ready. He really is the definition of a midfielder. I think the only negative thing you can really point out about his game is that he's slow because he's tall. I think he's around my height, like 190 something. If I'm mistaken, do let me know, but he's tall. And honestly, aside from him having the talent that's clear as day, knowing exactly what to do, when to do it, he really looks like a Medilibar player. Again, knock on wood, hope the kid stays healthy, hope everything goes well, hope he gets rostered. But it seems like he has the positivity around him that Musa had when he first got called up. And I think if he gets a regular game time in the next two friendlies as well, I would guess that he would be a starter in the first one, even though both of the next friendlies are really against tough opposition, relatively speaking at least, comparative to the Fortunas of the world. I wouldn't expect him to both be rostered and actually play a good amount of minutes in the Super League, but I would expect him to be on the list for the qualifiers as well. I don't know if he would get game time, but the positive there, of course, is the fact that he gives Olympiacos a great sense of comfort in completing UEFA's homegrown list. And he's not the only one that's going to do that, as it seems, because as we have been hearing ever since yesterday, and I'll actually skip a bit ahead for this, Manolis Tzolakis seems to be on his way back to Olympiacos. Of course, if reports are to be believed, Tzolakis and Sempoli have received an offer of around 1.3 million. The player, I would at least guess that these reports are true, wants to come back. And while nothing's really certain, I would expect him to come back. And having seen what Maffeo can give to this team, and I'll actually pause a bit here and say that every single pre-season, every single friendly, we hear the exact same thing. It's apparently legal, according to some fans, to point out the positives in this team, but when it comes to pointing out negatives, the year is apparently ruined. Like, come on. I know it's not in the blood of Greek fans, and I am including myself here, to keep a happy middle, to actually realize when we need to criticize the team and when we need to take a step back. But I am in disbelief in a way every summer, every single time that we see the same exact thing happen. I am not the most positive with how things are going. We are probably losing Tzolakis, which is something that not only do I think no one expected to happen this summer, but it's something, in a way at least, scary because you are losing the fan voted best player of last season. You are losing a big guarantee in this team, and you are probably replacing him. And excuse me for being a bit biased here, because there is always going to be a smidge of my opinion in these shows. You're probably replacing him with someone who, yes, has experience. Like, you can't deny the experience of Stefan Ortega if we end up going with him, but is half the player. There is a lot of positives to the game of Stefan Ortega. He has spent a lot of years under Pep Guardiola at the time where Ederson was out for a while. I don't remember how long that was, but I think back 2 years ago. Stefan Ortega provided a good solution, a good backup for City. He played the role last season for Nottingham, but I really don't see this transfer working out. It really feels like a lose-lose situation. I hope I'm wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong. But it really doesn't feel like anywhere near the ideal replacement. But on the other hand, I have here the opinion that you can't replace Tzolakis. You physically can't, which is fair. But I would love if the solution that came here was at least a bit of a certainty rather than a guess. Again, if that makes sense. In regards to Balsa Popovic, because we saw him today, and I'll go back to the friendlies. We saw Balsa Popovic today. We saw Sturnaras yesterday. We are in a good situation when it comes to backups. Arguably, depth-wise, we are in a better situation than we were last year, because Popovic especially looks like a very good, very confident keeper. He needs to work a bit with his feet, but he made some very good saves today. He made some very good runs today. I'm not mad at his first performance at all. But we need to make sure, because the sale of Kostas Tzolakis really seems unavoidable at this point. We really need to make sure we are safe under the sticks, no matter who ends up coming in. Because in a time where priorities stood as being midfield, the wingers, the left back position, this team has gaps, and that's clear. you suddenly need to look back and put a different priority at the top of the list. And again, that can derail things. I trust in the team. I trust in Bedilibar. I trust in their choices. I always do. But I would think that the majority of you would more or less agree with how concerning this can be, at least. In regards to the friendly that happened yesterday, once again, I do want to give props as well where they are needed to be given, at least, to Koutsidis. Isidoros Koutsidis continues a very, very good pre-season. He seems to be fitting very well, especially next to David Carmo, and I think he will be the second player from our B team / academy to get a roster spot for this season, half because of necessity, half because God knows he's earned it. And yeah, more or less, that's all I want to say for yesterday's friendly. The only thing that I did want to touch on was this, the first impression of Jota Silva that was very positive. Phyllis is perhaps the most positive aspect I've seen in the team's pre-season preparation this year. Yes and no. Phyllis certainly looks like the surprise of pre-season, but there is certainly a lot of positives, some expected, some unexpected, that we really need to pay attention to and keep in mind. And having spoken of it already, I want to get into it a bit more. The friendly today, while way more uneventful than yesterday's, still had a lot of discussion points, and one of the first one was the performance of Balsa Popovic. We said most things already. I just wanted to add on that the praise he got was deserved. It honestly was very deserved. I didn't say the only positive thing, I said the most positive thing. Yeah, I know. I just want to be a bit cautious. I think, at least in my eyes, the most attention in pre-season, which does conclude to the biggest positives and biggest negatives, goes to the starters. Since Christosphilis is going to have an up-and-comer role, I really don't put him up there. That's why I present it more as the surprise of pre-season rather than the biggest positive. Now, today's friendly, which was a very unlucky loss in my opinion, but we'll get into everything, had, of course, Balsa Popovic under the six, Bruno, Pirola, Smilovic, and Maffeo, the four at the back, Ese, Dani Garcia, and Chiquinho at the midfield, Rodi and Fortunis, and then Yaremchuk up top. Ironically, today has way more talking points than yesterday did. And the first one, I'll start with the positive. Zinedine Smilovic, take a dumb bow. A kid, he's my age. I think he's a year older than me, if I'm not mistaken. Let me actually check that. Zinedine Smilovic is my age. He was born just a few months before I was, a kid that not only showed incredible confidence since the first 15 minutes he got in this club, but a kid that immediately, like this, seems to have integrated himself in the mentality of this club. The fight needed to perform in this club, and he seems to already have shut all the doubters up, and without wanting to take it overboard, he very well seems like a very, very worthy transfer. And I'm super, super glad that we have a safety, a proven safety, just in case anything is needed. I also want to talk about a bit in regards to Pablo Maffeo. I really don't think that Maffeo is bad. He was great defensively today, apart from the goal. He was half at fault for the goal, like let's not lie to ourselves. But I don't think he was bad at all. He is a menace at the back, and he showed that no matter who he's against, it's never going to be easy for them. And while he definitely needs to work on some stuff, I think that, again, knock on wood, hopefully, along with Tzolakis, they'll both bring a lot of great stuff to Olympiacos. And I do want to put an asterisk in regards to Maffeo to just wait and see what he does when someone helps him track back. Because today he was kind of just stuck at the back because, of course, Rodinei was very focused on attack, so he needed to cover the empty spaces, which he mostly did. So without wanting to present him as any god, I don't think Pablo Maffeo is that bad. I think Pablo Maffeo is a very solid player that will keep getting better and better. I'm not gonna just crucify him because he made a mistake in a friendly. Like, let's come on. On the more negative side, sadly, stands Roman Yaremchuk. Roman, who has been having a good pre-season, relatively. Roman, of course, who is the only out-and-out forward the team has available right now, as Mehdi Taremi and Ayoub El Kabi still haven't come back. I would think that they're both back by next friendly. I think both of their time off ends before them. Taremi definitely does. I am more or less thinking about Ayoub El Kabi. I think they'll both be back for the next few friendlies. But yeah, Yaremchuk, sadly, just couldn't find the net today. Missed a few golden chances, but he definitely needs to work on composure. I think it's more or less that. And I've seen a lot of divisive opinions in regards to Yaremchuk, if he should stay, if he should go. I still would say keep him. I really still would say keep him. But it all depends on who the third man up top is. You need to bring in another striker for sure if Mehdi Taremi leaves. You can just stick with those two. I do think that Yaremchuk will find good form once again. I do expect Yaremchuk to start finding goals once again, as long as he stays, that is. So, depending on who the third man in the partnership up top is, I'm still leaning on Yaremchuk staying. But he needs to use the rest of pre-season to find his confidence again, and he needs to use the rest of pre-season to decide what he wants to do. Because if the team needs to look for two more strikers, we need to do that early. We can't keep doing that late August or something. I don't think that Mehdi Taremi will leave. I disagree. And it's not the fact that the team wants Mehdi to leave. It's the fact that word has been for a while now that Mehdi's representatives have said that he will bring an offer to the door of Olympiacos for him to move away. And I've said my opinion on this in the past, and I will again. I do think it's the best for both parties if Mehdi Taremi leaves this summer. And it's not because Taremi is a bad player, quite the contrary. Mehdi Taremi is an incredible player, but sometimes it's just not meant to be. He will never fit Olympiacos' system, as we saw in the second half of the season, which of course you can't blame the man because of all the off-field things that are happening in his home. I mean, his home is being attacked. You can't blame a man for not being fully here. But fully football-wise, it will almost never really work to its fullest potential. So if a satisfying offer comes in, and if the word is true that Mehdi wants to go and his agents are pushing to bring an offer in, I do think it would be the best for both parties. Which again, on one hand is scary because the only forward with a certain future at Olympiacos is El Kabi. You don't know what will happen with the other two. I know he said he wants to stay. I know Mehdi said that he sees a future at Olympiacos. I know that he said he wants to win more trophies with Olympiacos, but the whole agent rumor and stuff came after. And I do hope I'm wrong. I do hope he stays and absolutely kills it behind El Kabi. I want that to be crystal clear. I just don't think that he will. I think an offer will come in, and I think Olympiacos will take the chance and thank Taremi for all he gave to us and send him off. But we need to just cover those gaps in the roster. If you need about 6 players, and that's with no one being sold, which is insane. It's still early, but it's insane. You need a right back, which will more than likely be Tzolakis. You need midfielders, and you need a winger, and you need a striker already. You need a striker already. And I'm not mentioning Clayton because Clayton will leave. Let's not kid ourselves. Clayton, I think that's the definition for the best of both parties. I think Clayton needs to leave, both for himself and his own career and for Olympiacos. I think that goes both ways clearly. And I think that is easily what's going to happen. Of course, today, along with Christos Philis, we saw the unofficial debut of UL Roca, and I have been told that it is Joel and not Joel, that I have been pronouncing that wrong, but the more you know is the phrase that goes here. We couldn't really see a lot of Roca. I'm not going to judge the guy from 15 minutes of game time in a friendly where he probably has had one training session before this friendly with the team. The guy got announced this morning. But on the positive side and on the negative side of first impressions, he looked good. He already looks like he understands the game plan. He had a chance that got blocked, sadly. And he was the one that lost the ball, which led to the goal. I do believe that it was a foul. I still believe that it was a foul on Roca. But the conclusion that I want to keep from today is, of course, to not crucify the man. Because, he played 15 minutes, having been announced this morning. We'll have a much clearer image in the next two friendlies. And I am standing a bit against the majority here because I do believe that the kid has a lot to give to the team. I do believe that he will be a solid solution off the bench, but it doesn't change the fact that the team needs a quote-unquote star winger. I was talking to a friend earlier today, and I said that I think, at least, the team needs a Podense type player. Someone that can not only delete the man marking him from existence on one-on-ones, but that can cross the ball and, if needed, can score. But I will put more emphasis into getting assists. We need someone that can give creativity to this team other than Fortunis, because God knows that he's the only shining light for now in regards to creativity problems and solutions, of course, especially to prevent the problem we had last season with seeing low block after low block and so on and so forth. I would say that would be Davidashvili. But I really want to wait on that case because it seems like a very difficult transfer, especially in regards to the standards of how we've been moving. But the case of Davidashvili would solve, again, knock on wood, would solve a lot of problems in this club. I really, truly, and wholeheartedly believe that. Now, something else that I want to cover in regards to the football is the Super League schedule. The draw, of course, that happened a few days ago. I am trying to set it up. I do apologize. Which, of course, revealed that we will be starting the season at home against Atromitos, which really feels like it happens every 3 years. It really feels like we start the season off against Atromitos every few seasons. Next game will be away at Asteras. Next is Volos, Ofi, and so on. The first derby is going to be on match day 6 at home against Panathinaikos. That's probably one of the most important dates to note down. Then we face PAOK opening up November after a few more games. And probably the most crucial date to call on to is the fact that we finish off the first round with a derby at home against I. Now, the fact that all derbies are at home in the first round is very positive because it gives an extra confidence to the team. I really don't want to think back to what happened last season with the friendlies. And that can't happen again. That simply can't happen again with the friendlies, with the derbies, I'm sorry. That can't happen again. We can't win one derby in the regular season. Come on. Of course, then moving forward, it's not a crystal copy of the first round, but I can still right there, close to the end of the regular season on the 6th of March, if I'm not mistaken, either the 6th or the 7th. And again, very noteworthy the fact that we play both PAOK away and Panathinaikos away in a matter of weeks in January. I know the schedule doesn't really influence that much, but I know the comment I put up, I'll address it in a second, but there is a few things to note down. How come we didn't get an away game against Volos on the first or second match day, says the comment. And I will tell you that the away game against Volos isn't on the first or second match day, but it is on the 3rd, starting of September. So that doesn't change much. I love how that's a thing. I love how we know that in one of the first 4 match days we're gonna face Volos. Like that's self-evident now, and I'm glad. Also, it is something to mention that if Olympiacos make it to, actually, I don't know, let me actually check something out in regards to the Champions League qualifiers and when they fall in terms to match day 1 of the Super League. And the playoffs especially, because I am pretty sure, but I don't want to spread misinformation to you all. Yes, the playoffs fall on the 18th or 19th of August, and then of course a week after, which means that match week 1 of the Super League will fall right between the playoffs, if we make it past round 3 of the Champions League qualifiers, which is again something to note down and something that critically addresses the depth of the team and what we need to keep in mind. In regards to the transfers, the only thing that I really didn't talk about is the fact that I really didn't expand upon, is the fact that Tzolakis is going to be sold to probably Hull City for a fee that will be standing around 20 million euros. For those of you that want my first impressions and reaction on that deal, do go a bit behind and you'll see despair on my face. It's sad. It was unexpected, but in the end, it's seemingly unavoidable. We'll never truly know the behind the scenes, if he didn't want to go, if he was pursued by the agents, if something happened and he didn't renew. Anything and everything in between, we'll never know. But what matters is that he will more than likely be sold, and we need to properly prepare for that. Now, as we close up on an hour, I do want to move forward to the Erasitechni and talk about the draws. For those of you that do not know, we had 3 draws happening in regards to the Erasitechni, and that was for the men's Sev Challenge Cup, for the women's possibly Sev Challenge Cup, and we'll get into that, and for the women's Euro Cup group. We'll get into them slowly but surely, and we'll explain everything for those of you that aren't that familiar. Now, starting off, the men's volleyball team. The men's volleyball team will start their Challenge Cup campaign in the round of 32, in which they will face 2 teams. The winner between, I apologize if I butcher this, by the way. The winner between Austrian side Zadruga and Danish side Nordenskov, with the first game being between the 8th and the 10th of December, and the second game being between the 5th and the 7th of January. Now, this luck of the draw was in our favor. I disagree. Our luck in European volleyball is worse than Sebast's talent in football. No. in regards to how Olympiacos stands right now, I'd really argue that this draw is favorable. I really think that no matter which side wins, we will, not easily necessarily, but we will get past the round of 32. And then, if we do make the round of 16, we will face the winner of one of the following pairs. A team that's very well known in CSK Sofia, CSKA Sofia from Bulgaria, and Horodok from Ukraine, or the pair of Budva and Lokomotiv Avia, who's also from Bulgaria. Again, a draw that, on paper at least, is at our level. I'm not mad at that draw at all. There's going to be a lot of teams in this tournament that are going to make life hard for Olympiacos. But one of the most positive things the draw brought back is the fact that we can only match up against Fenerbahce if we both make the final. If both teams make the final, that's where we will more than likely, like let's not lie to ourselves, meet the Turkish side. I've said my opinion as the first half of the summer went on that the side we're building in volleyball is way better than a lot of people realize. And with Alberto Giuliani at the helm, I believe this side can do anything. Anything. So don't be surprised. Yeah, knock on wood for the fourth time this show. Don't be surprised if that final matchup happens. Like, don't be surprised at all that final matchup happens. The second draw that happened is for the women's Challenge Cup. And what the women learned is that if they win the Balkan Cup, which of course Olympiacos are participating in after last year's woeful season in the league, winning the Balkan Cup, of course, for those of you that do not know, gives a team a ticket in the Challenge Cup. So if our ladies win the Balkan Cup, they will face Portuguese side Benfica in the round of 64 of the Women's Challenge Cup, with the first game being between the 27th and 29th of October, and the second game in Lisbon being between the 3rd and the 5th of November. I really don't want to speak about this draw yet because we still have a whole competition ahead. But if I can leave any message in regards to everything, is that I do believe Olympiacos will make it to the Challenge Cup. Everything else after that is a conversation for a different day, honestly. And now speaking of bad luck in Europe, we move on to the Eurocup Women group draw, where Olympiacos will find themselves in Group D, where the rest of the teams are CBK Mersin, from Turkey, last year's winner of the Euro Cup, Śleza Wrocław, which is a good team from Poland. Olympiacos can match up to that. And if everything wasn't bad in this group already, the last ticket, of course, would have gone to one of the qualifying pairs, not groups, pairs. And in my opinion, at the very least, we got the worst one. As the fourth team in this group will be the winner of Spanish side Ferrol and Bulgarian side Beroe Stara Zagora. So it will 90% be Ferrol. On paper, this group is brutal, especially given two teams qualify. Having Ferrol and Mersin in the same group is brutal. But Olympiacos has proven many times that, especially in Europe, the harder groups are the ones we perform better at. So you never know. We're building a very, very good team, a way different team than last season. And I do believe that we will surprise a lot of people, but it definitely is going to take a lot of work to get out of that group. Definitely will. And the last two things I want to say before closing out for today is that Olympiacos announced German international right back, or for those of you that are confused, right back court player, as the proper position is called, David Schmid. David Schmid adds insane quality to Olympiacos handball, as he has extensive experience from the EHF Champions League and the Bundesliga, in which he has 900 goals, and in all competitions he has over 1.1k, which is as insane as it sounds. One of the main things that I did want to point out is that in his first interview, David Schmid said that he knows Olympiacos, he knows how rich their history is, and he knows Olympiacos mainly from the Champions League and the Euro League, which honestly was nice. Someone of that class recognizing how much history they are fighting for is always nice to see. And last off, the second libero of the men's volleyball team, Dimitris Konstantinidis, has renewed his contract for 1 more year. And now, slowly but surely, I do want to close up. We talked about everything for the past hour. I hope you all enjoyed, as always. Even if you're listening after, do drop your comments in regards to everything, and I will get to them as soon as I can. I will see you all probably on Monday or Tuesday is going to be the next show. I will keep you all updated to catch up on everything that's going to happen. I hope you all enjoy tomorrow's World Cup final. I am a very happy neutral in this game. I'll be happy with either winner. And as always, thank you all the background. No one has pointed out the background for a while. For those of you that haven't been following for that long, I meant to go the other way. This background is very, very special. Of course, I changed it up a bit for the first time in a while. This is the 100-year anniversary basketball jersey. This is a signed jersey from almost the entire roster of that year. And this here is the 100 years football jersey. And this is a new scarf. The scarf I usually have up is right here, actually. I changed it up. I put this scarf up. This scarf, if you can see, I'll show it off next show. I think I showed it off when I came back from that day. Has all of the European titles of Olympiacos on it. And it was given to me the incredible day where we had the welcoming of the women's water polo team. So that's going to be the background for a minute. And I do really want to keep improving the background. I do want to keep adding stuff. Another thing that I did want to announce, and I swear I'll close off in a minute, is that by the voting of everyone, especially on the Instagram channel, do go follow us on Instagram and join the headquarters, as everyone has agreed to call it. I will do like 1 or 2 Q&A streams over the next month. So do look out for those. And first of all, I'm working on something very big for the show in general that I can't announce yet. And I am working on bringing back RSC real soon. For those of you that don't know what RSC is, go check out the playlist on the channel. It's a series we call Red Sea Chronicles. And it's a series of interviews of different creators, friends of the show or not. We have had Steve from Hellas Football. We have had Ari from the 307 Boys. We've had the Football Stadium show on here as the first episode. We've had great friend of the show and personal friend, the host of the 6th Women podcast. Do go check out their podcast as well. And we've had even more. We've had Tito from Viola Nation. So do go check out that series and expect a new episode very, very soon. Just need to finalize some stuff. Finally, in regards to that series. I really want to keep doing that series more often, but scheduling conflicts are hell. I hope you all understand. And the last thing, in one of the next shows, Gal will finally be back. Do forgive the man. His schedule has been killing him. As always, I appreciate you all so much. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.